Welcome into tonight here to the Topic of the Week video. And this week I'm going to be talking about Princess Mononoke. This week's topic was submitted by Angel89, and her topic is: what makes Princess Mononoke objectively not only one of Miyazaki's greatest works, but also an amazing movie in general? What is it about the story, characters, theme, and atmosphere that keeps drawing us to this brilliant work? I'm going to be perfectly honest, I haven't seen every Miyazaki movie. I've seen a decent number of them at this point. But I just recently rewatched Princess Mononoke with Angel, which is why she sent this in. And honestly, I just forgot how good that movie was. I think Princess Mononoke was the second Miyazaki movie that I saw. I saw Spirited Away first, and then I think I saw Princess Mononoke after that. And then after that I saw movies like Kiki's Delivery Service and more recently I saw Laputa Castle in the Sky. But Princess Mononoke is definitely one of my favorites out of all the ones I've seen. It's just such a gosh darn good movie. Now, to go down the list of things to talk about here, atmosphere is something really important, because you can't talk about a Miyazaki movie without talking about how beautiful the animation is. Oh my gosh, the city looks like, the Iron City looks so vibrant, even though it's just this industrial, makeshift area, like makeshift city. You've got the forests, the beautiful forests, and then you've got like the war-torn areas that were with the trees cut down, and areas that were burnt, and areas that were suffered from battle. It's just so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a Miyazaki movie. All these Ghibli movies are just so good. And it always really has this wonderful atmosphere to it. Whenever it really, like, every scene sets the mood so well. Like, you've got scenes where it's dark and it's supposed to be depressing. And, you have the moody atmosphere, the dark colors. And even when you're in like Iron City and you still have these dark colors, it feels vibrant with the characters and the way everything is animated. It's so good. The story of it is actually really good. And this actually ties in with the theme, because one of the things that I love about this movie is the fact that it has one of those in Green Aesop's, those environmental messages. That doesn't feel like it's cramming down plants good down your throat and saying humans bad, technology evil. Because it doesn't treat the situation as a black and white. It does show that either side are, both sides aren't completely right and both sides aren't completely wrong. It's not like humans good, all animals bad, destroy everything. But then again, it's not like the animals are all right, because you see that it's this hatred that has infused with these animals that ends up turning them into demons, which ends up causing a lot of things that happened in the plot. The humans came in, the animals got angry, and then became violent and cruel. Then this caused more violence from the humans, and then it was just this escalating violence, and neither side wanted to give in. Ashitaka comes in as this neutral party. And he's probably the only character that I would say is outright, from the beginning, the one who's right. He thinks that there should just be balance. Like, he's not trying to fight the humans or fight the animals. He works with the humans, he works with the animals. He tries to find this balance between the two. And you really feel for him, because you understand that, yeah, it's not just that the humans all need to die to help the animals, because they can live peacefully, which is how the movie ends. And I'll get into that in a little bit. You have like the leaders of each side, like Lady Boshi, for the human side. She's, on one hand, if you just heard about her, you would think she's just this warmongering, animal-killing psychopath. But no. While she does dedicatedly fight against these animals that are constantly attacking her, and has no issue, and she does have her own faults, yes, especially when she gets cocky and arrogant with, killing a god. It's like, but yeah, she still does a lot of good. In fact, you find out that she helps a lot of these people. She's revered by the people under her, especially a lot of the women. A lot of those women that you see in it were like prostitutes that she went in and she would save them and give them a place to live, a place to work. They could earn their living without having to demean themselves. And she took in people who were lepers. She has to segregate, put them in a different spot, but she takes them in. She feeds them. She takes care of them. She lets them work, and then they help design a lot of like your weapons and stuff. She took them in when no one else would. So you see that even if Eboshi is doing some things that are wrong and she does need to change on, she's not an evil person. Depending on your perspective, she's the savior or she's the devil. And it's actually kind of funny because it really is something that changes depending on the perspective of the characters. Someone like San thinks that Eboshi is awful and evil because of what she's done, cutting down a bunch of trees for the forests and stuff and doing all the mining and stuff. But to all the humans, they adore her. And she's not some unreasonable, awful person, because she is convinced by the end of the movie to take things in be more balanced to herself. And even the animals. And San really kind of represents this because she's a human who was raised by the wolves. And she hates the humans because she identifies with the wolves and ultimately ends up coming to... mainly because of the interference of Ashitaka. Ashitaka's like the only thing that saved everyone in the end. Ashitaka's the true MVP of Princess Mononoke. But you have San representing like that side. And you see the animals, and you see her adopted wolf mother, and you see the other animals and stuff, and you can see the way that they've been warped in it, and the way that they've become more monstrous as they fight, and the ways that humans can become more monstrous and cruel as they fight. And it's one of those things where it's like everyone needs to stop. Because if everyone would just stop and talk this out, we could actually solve this. And it's each of the characters' disregard for what the other side could do that really causes a lot of these conflicts. And it's actually really great to see in this story these sides work together. Because you have the animals, and they represent the nature. You have the humans, and they represent, the industry, technology. And both of them are shown to have good and bad to them. And it's only at the end of the movie where you see at the end where, especially when Lady Eboshi realizes, after everything got pretty much destroyed, she's like, we can start over. And we can do this better. We can do this together. Because you don't need to fight all the animals. The animals can... as long as the humans understand that the animals have their role, and they can have their roles, and the humans have their roles, they can work together. They can live in harmony. It kind of felt a little Avatar: The Last Airbender, to be honest. And if I'm making positive comparisons to Avatar: The Last Airbender, that's a good thing. It really did feel like it was a movie that wasn't chastising humans for having technology or just humans in general. You look at some other things like James Cameron's Avatar, and whoo boy, it's just, it's awful. It's just so slanted, one-sided, black and white, even childish. The take of that movie was so immature with how it handled the nature versus technology themes. But in Princess Mononoke, you have that same themes. But instead of saying, humans all need to leave, it's like, no, the humans can stay. Because the humans can do a lot of good. And, you see what Lady Eboshi does. You see all these humans that we get to know and characters that we like. Even characters like Eboshi's second in command, who is this... He would be unlikable, but I just love how obnoxious he was. He was just so over the top obnoxious all the time that it was hilarious. But I did like that approach. That is the core of the movie, really, was the way it handled these themes. And this is one of the times when themes is genuinely relevant to the discussion of talking about the movie, because yes, the entire story is built on this theme of balance. It's not nature good, everything else bad. It's balance. You can have the nature, you can have the animals do their thing, and you can have the humans live there, and they don't have to fight and kill each other. You can have both sides work and live in harmony. They can help each other. You have all these ancient animals who, like, especially like the more like the guardians and like the important animals. It's like, yeah, you can work with them. There can be mutual help, protection. This can be a symbiotic relationship. It doesn't have to be, violent. And it was such a good way to show that both sides had issues. Because Lady Eboshi, as wonderful as she is to a lot of the people, does do some bad things. She is killing animals. They are preventing I believe it was the apes, from planting more trees, which then caused them to go crazy and them to get more violent and cruel, which then circled back into this whole cycle of violence, where one side does something, and the other side does something worse, and the other side does something worse, and the other side does something worse, and then you end up with nothing. You end up with constant destruction and death until there's nothing left. And you really see this kind of like really embodied when that spirit. I always want to say that deer from Pokemon Y, but it says you had that forest god when its head is taken from it, where then it ends up becoming this massive death, and it just kills and destroys everything. Where it's like, yes, because of what they keep doing, the escalation of this violence, that is ultimately going to be what happens. Death, destruction, everything's gone. And there's nothing left. And it's only after, that one guy who's introduced very early on in the movie, who seems like a nice, kind guy, who ends up being kind of an antagonist who is directly involved in screwing over a lot of the people because he gets the head of the forest god. But even then, even though he fights Ashitaka to try to keep it, he ultimately realizes, I'm gonna die if I just do this. So they do release it, and they do end up solving the problems, and it ends up putting a rest to this massive, like, blobby death everywhere. Where once these characters give up on their own selfish goals and actually start thinking about the bigger picture, they realize that, no, I have to give something up in order for there to be any kind of prosperity. And that's the message that the whole movie ends on, like I said before, with Lady Eboshi saying how, they're going to do something better. Like, she lost her arm to a size wolf mom. And so now she's sitting there, missing an arm, being like, yeah, mistakes were made. But then this is the understanding and the very hopeful message that it leaves off on, where it's like, after, we'll rebuild, but we'll do it better this time. And I love that. And, the story has all these characters that are very varied, and you can see a lot of multidimensions. I talked about Lady Eboshi. You talk about San. And both of them have understandable perspectives. It's easy to understand, coming from their perspective, that they think they might be doing the right thing with fighting. Well, they're protecting themselves, right? Like, if some giant 8-foot wolf is coming at you, and you're like, fire and kill it. But for them, it's like these wolves are attacking them because you've destroyed so much of this forest, and you've fought us, and you've shot at us, so we're fighting back. So it's like, it's an understanding, and neither side was really thinking about the other at that point. Which is really the point of Ashitaka in the story. And I like Ashitaka because he's got a very simple goal. He got infected on his arm because of that boar at the beginning of the movie was infected because of all the conflict of between the humans and the animals. And he's just trying to get that solved. And this leads him to interacting with the humans and interacting with the animals. And in some cases, he might be seen as kind of boring because he's reasonable. But this is something I really like. When other people... he comes in as an outsider, and when you look at things from the outside perspective, he sees how people are being unreasonable on both sides. So he takes a role as a mediator to try to solve this problem and try to talk to them. And this is actually what makes him so likable. He's a reasonable character. Aside from him being good at fighting and stuff, he really is just a reasonable character. And it's funny that him being reasonable is what makes him just so likable. Like, you don't need characters to be stupid to create drama. Because there's already drama in this with characters making reasonable attitudes, making reasonable decisions from their perspective. But then Ashitaka comes in with the true reasonable and neutral perspective. And he tries to help the humans. He tries to help the animals. He tries to stop the fighting. He tries to he interacts with the humans. He goes into where the women are working. And he works with some of the ironworks. He goes and he meets with the lepers. He talks to Lady Eboshi. He goes and he talks to Sai. He tries to talk to the animals, and he talks to the wolves. And it's like, yeah, he talks to everyone. And it's funny because in a lot of ways, when you're watching a movie and you're thinking, why are they just doing this reasonable thing? Because this would end things so much quicker if they just made a reasonable decision. Well, that's Ashitaka's entire character. Oh, not his entire character, but that's his thing where it's like, he's making these reasonable decisions. When you look at him, you'd be like, okay, why isn't he just talking to Lady Eboshi? Okay, so he just goes and talks to Lady Eboshi. Why doesn't he talk to wolves and San? Well, then he goes and he talks to the wolves and San. It's like, oh. Yeah, I'm behind this guy. Ashitaka. Yeah, this guy knows what's up. And, yes, he's also an amazing fighter, but really, what I like most about him is his reasonable attitude and trying to help. And yes, he has his own goals of trying to get that curse off of him and so that he can live an actual life again. But he's still willing to go out of his way to help all these other people. And shoot, he helps those humans early on in the movie when he brings them back to Iron City. And when they were thought to be lost and, gone. And it's like, oh no, yeah, he's always willing to help people. And he's so likable. He's such a good protagonist because he's so likable. Centering the movie on him and his goals of trying to figure things out between these two sides, very good decision. Another thing about this is the romance. A very nice romance between Ashitaka and San, where you actually get to see, she initially hates him because he's a human. And it's like, she's also human. But you see her change as the story goes on. And Ashitaka really does help change her perspective on things. He helps change everyone's perspective on things, but particularly relating to the romance. It's just a very nice romance. It's not in your face all the times. There are some moments where when she threatens, she puts a knife up to him and he's just like, you're beautiful. And she's just like, Baka, human, I'll kill you. But it's very nice to see their relationship grow over the course of the movie. So at the end, it's like you really understand how, they really care about each other. Especially, after he had he goes out of his way to save her. He goes out of his way to stop her from trying to do something unreasonable. And I really liked seeing her character, her character especially changes over the course of the movie, where she starts off being completely staunch, anti-human, pro-animal, #kill all humans, and then she grows to be more reasonable as Ashitaka and her experiences in the movie change her mind on things. It's very nice, very nice. Another thing, and probably the last thing to really talk about here, is that I really like how the movie isn't afraid of shying away from violent imagery. Because, a lot of times when you see movies, because, it's not like because Ghibli movies are generally made for all ages. They're not just meant to be just for kids or just for adults. But then you have some movies that are more kid friendly than others, like Kiki's Delivery Service. That was more kid friendly than others. But kids can watch. Most kids can watch all of these movies. But with Princess Mononoke, it can get violent. Limbs can get chopped off. Heads taken off. Gunfire, violence, blood, curses. Animals having their bodies rot with this gooey creepy stuff. And shoot, you have the animals, especially the ones that go crazy. Yeah, they're creepy too. But it doesn't shy away from that. It doesn't go, oh well, kids can't handle this, so let's just scrub anything that could be violent out of the movie. The movie would not have been as effective as it was if there was no violence in it. If there wasn't anything that really showed how bad things were between these two sides, of just how bloody and damaging this war was between the humans and the animals, the actual resolution wouldn't really have worked as much as it did. And I did like how it didn't shy away from that. Other Ghibli movies don't really show violence because there's no need to. You don't see that in Spirited Away. Even movies like Laputa or Kiki's Delivery Service. But with Princess Mononoke and the story that it's trying to tell, it is something that shows a lot of the horrors of war. And it's yeah, let's not fight. Let's be reasonable. And it really works. And I know the first time I was watching the movie and I saw someone's arm just get sliced right off, I was like, oh. But, yeah, it's I think a lot of kids, maybe not I don't know, I really think a lot of kids don't need to be constantly sheltered and saying, oh no, you can't see any violence at all. It's I doubt that. I don't think everyone's gonna really take to that. Some kids might not be able to handle it. Especially maybe little kids. And if they're little kids, they might not really grasp the nature and themes of the movie, just because there's a lot of big serious stuff going on in that movie. But overall, Princess Mononoke is an excellent movie. I don't know if it's the best Ghibli movie. I'd have to watch all of the Ghibli movies, which is not a bad thing. But of all the ones I've seen, it's probably definitely my favorite. Spirited Away is up there too. I'll probably end up talking about Spirited Away at some other point. But yeah. Princess Mononoke is an excellent movie. Please watch it. So yeah, I think that's about it for this topic. If you want to submit a topic to me, you can comment below if you're on YouTube. If you're on Tumblr, send me an ask and put topic : then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Or if you're on the Discord, you can go into the topic submissions channel and just submit the topic there. Just make sure to follow the rules I'll be posting down below. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. So what are your thoughts on Princess Mononoke? Please comment below. And thank you for watching.